Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be breaking down the NHL DFS slate for Wednesday, November 30th. We got ourselves just a 4-game slate here tonight where I'm going to go through a couple of my favorite line stacks, some of my favorite individual plays, and some of my favorite value plays, and then we'll wrap up the video talking a little prize picks. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And we're going to kick things off here like we always do in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. We got all 4 of these games coming in with an implied total of 6.5 here today. And then take a look down here at the Vegas odds, where you can see the Maple Leafs, Oilers, Red Wings, and Rangers are all favored to win here tonight. With that being said, let's dive into a couple of line stacks that I like here for tonight. First, starting with that first line for the Detroit Red Wings. We got Larkin centering Kubalik and Raymond. Got a great matchup for the Red Wings here tonight at home against the Buffalo Sabres, who have really started to slump here over their past 10 games. They're just 2-7-1 during that stretch of games, while allowing 4.10 goals per game with an abysmal penalty kill that's hit at just a 63.6% rate. And really what I'm targeting here for the most part is Kubalik and Larkin. Raymond makes it easy because he's $3,900 there, easy to justify that, but note he is playing down on the second power play right now, whereas Larkin and Kubalik are playing up on that first power play. You could realistically mix in Larkin and Kubalik with someone like Mo Seider if you wanted to, and kind of stack up that power play, which has been very good for the Red Wings here over their past 5 games, scoring at a 33.3% rate. But I mentioned Larkin and Kubalik. You can see there in the notes off to the right-hand side, both of these guys lead the team in goals, assists, expected goals, shot attempts, and shots on goal, so needless to say, they're playing pretty well. And then another line stack I like here tonight is that second line for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We got Tavares centering Yarncroke and Marner. You know, it's similar to that first line for me. I'm primarily targeting Tavares and Marner here. Both of these guys are egregiously cheap considering how well they've played here as of late, really how well they've played all year long. Marner is riding a 17-game point streak right now. Actually, if he scores or gets on the score sheet here tonight, he actually breaks the Maple Leaf record for most consecutive games recording a point, and Tavares leads this team in expected goals and is second on the team in points. So I don't know why they are so cheap, but then you got someone like William Nylander who's playing on the first line with Matthews, playing on that number 1 power play, and he's only $5,500. So the Maple Leafs are going to be popular here tonight, largely due to how cheap they are, but they also have a really good matchup at home against the San Jose Sharks, who've allowed 3.44 goals per game this year, and Toronto has no problem putting the puck in the back of the net. I'll look to build around these guys, but note if you are building around them, you're going to have to look to get contrarian elsewhere. Now folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I got hockey content coming out for you guys all year long. Alright, now diving into some of my favorite individual plays here, we're going to kick it off with the forwards, and I'm not going to lie, I initially had Connor McDavid here as my top player, but then I was like, everybody kind of knows the upside that Connor McDavid has. Great matchup here against Chicago, a team that he scored a hat trick against already this year, put up 40-plus DraftKings points. So I ended up putting Tim Stützle here, but just note I will absolutely have exposure to McDavid here tonight, stacking him up with guys like Zach Hyman, who I'll talk about here next. But I ended up putting Tim Stützle here of the Ottawa Senators. Kind of wanted to highlight this game between them and the Rangers, because I definitely think there's some high-scoring potential there, and I guess for what it's worth, I really could see that with any one of these games here tonight. Obviously, Vegas is thinking the same, being that the implied total for all 4 games is at 6.5. But there have been very few bright spots for this Ottawa team this year. One bright spot has been their number 1 power play, especially as of late. Over their past 5 games, they have scored at a 31.3% rate, and Stützle has been one of the bright spots for them as well. Really, him and Brady Tkachuk playing on that first line and number 1 power play together. Stützle has been particularly good at home this year. 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points in 11 games played, where he's averaging around 2.5 shots on net per game and close to 14 DraftKings points per game. And the Rangers, for whatever reason, haven't looked great here as of late. In their last 2 games, they've given up some big leads, ended up losing both of those games as well, so they might not have the most confidence heading into Ottawa here tonight. Now, let's talk about Zach Hyman here, who's been awesome for the Edmonton Oilers this year. Obviously, we know what McDavid and Draisaitl Draisaitl do, leading the NHL in points right now. That's pretty typical of those two. But Zach Hyman is actually leading this team in expected goals this year, and he's got 22 points through 22 games. Now, it obviously helps when you're playing with guys like Draisaitl and McDavid, and that's where we should see him primarily play tonight, on that first line with those guys and up on that number one power play. But if you go look on Left Wing Lock right now or Daily Faceoff, you'll probably see that Hyman is down on the second line, but that really wasn't the case last game. He played there a little bit, but for the most part, again, he was up on that first line, and this is just a beautiful matchup for the Oilers here tonight, playing the Chicago Blackhawks, who have given up 5.20 goals per game over their past 5, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 54% rate. Those are horrible numbers, to say the least. I then got Chris Kreider there of the New York Rangers, who actually leads the entire league in expected goals this year. And I failed to mention this about Zach Hyman. He's second in the NHL in expected goals. I had mentioned that he leads the Oilers in expected goals, but worth noting, second in the NHL too. But Kreider leads the league, and he's got 10 goals, 9 assists, 19 points through 23 games, while playing up on that first line in number one power play. I talked about the Ottawa Senators. Haven't been very many bright spots for them this year. They've struggled defensively pretty much all year long. That hasn't changed as of late either, allowing 3.5 goals per game over their past 5, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 74% rate. So I'll have no issue kind of targeting that number one power play for the Rangers tonight. Next, I got William Nylander there of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who I name dropped earlier because I just don't understand why he's priced here at $5,500. A guy who's got 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points in his past 10. A guy who's got 30 plus DraftKings point upside, and a good matchup at home here tonight against the San Jose Sharks. Again, these guys are likely going to be popular, so if you're putting them in your lineup, you're going to have to look to get contrarian elsewhere. But Nylander's a guy who's going to play on that first line, play on that number one power play, and should log around 18 minutes here tonight. Now, ever since the Buffalo Sabres reunited that first line of Tage Thompson, Jeff Skinner, and Alex Tuch, they've played very well together. Even though this Buffalo team as a whole has not been very good, these guys have been putting up points, and Skinner offers the most value in my opinion here at $5,100. While getting time on that first line and number one power play, he should log around 18 minutes and has been putting up the points here, especially as of late. In his last 4 games, he's racked up 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points. While in those games, he's hit 14.3, 23 and 45 DraftKings points, showing a really nice ceiling as well. And then if you're looking for a cheaper contrarian tournament play, I don't mind Andreas Athanasiou here of the Chicago Blackhawks, who's currently playing up on that first line right now with Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, while getting time on the number 2 power play. There's not a lot of upside with this Chicago team, but Athanasiou is one guy who could very well find the back of the net tonight. A little revenge narrative there as well with his former team in the Edmonton Oilers. And look, this Oilers team is by all means going to come in here tonight and score goals, but this isn't one of the better defensive teams in the NHL by any means. They've allowed 3.5 goals per game this year, the 7th most in the NHL, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 73% rate. So there's not a lot of upside with the Chicago team, but at $4,300, I don't mind Athanasiou as a cheaper contrarian play. Now, moving over here to the defensemen, and I mentioned earlier I have no problem targeting that number 1 power play for the New York Rangers here tonight. The Ottawa Senators are not afraid to take penalties, and their penalty kill has not been very good, especially as of late, and I was a little surprised at how cheap Adam Fox was here at $5,900 for a guy who's got 14 points here in his past 10 games, logs around 25 minutes per night while getting time on the number 1 power play and the penalty kill. He's a very well-rounded defenseman who can rack up DraftKings points in a number of different ways. Now, I don't foresee myself spending up for the defenseman position a lot here tonight, but considering the price for this guy, I'll definitely have him in my player pool. And then on the other side of that game, I like Thomas Chabot as well of the Ottawa Senators, a guy who logs around 26 minutes per game himself, playing on the number 1 power play and playing on the penalty kill. He's got 9 points through 16 games. He was banged up a little bit, had to miss some time, but this is usually a guy who floats in the low 6K range, so we're getting him at a massive discount tonight as well. And I mentioned earlier, there have been very few bright spots for this Ottawa team this year, but one bright spot for them as of late has been their #1 power play, so that's something I'll be targeting as well. Now, if we could start a petition that says, let's move Evan Bouchard up to the #1 power play for the Edmonton Oilers over Tyson Barrie, I would be all for that, because this guy has a lot of offensive upside as a defenseman, but he's not very good defensively, which kind of limits his ice time. He only plays around 17 minutes per night, but he is a guy who can find the back of the net. In fact, he's got 3 goals here in his last 2 games, while racking up 11 shots on net, hitting 23.3 and 24 DraftKings points, smashing value at this current price of $3,600. But unfortunately, he does play down on the #2 power play, but if you're looking for the positive out of that is McDavid and Draisaitl rarely come off the ice when they're on the power play, so he's definitely still going to get ice time with those guys. And again, at $3,600 here, a value play who has some really solid upside. And then wrapping up the defenseman there with Rasmus Sandin of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who's damn near sitting at the bare minimum price of $2,600 and has really had to step up in the absence of Morgan Rielly, who's currently on the IR right now. We've seen Sandin log 21 plus minutes in 3 of his past 4 games while getting time on the #1 power play. Now, if you go look at his game log here on DraftKings, you're going to go, guy doesn't really rack up that many DraftKings points, but this is an opportunity play, right? You're spending $2,600 for a guy who should log around 20 minutes and getting time on that #1 power play, which is loaded with talent. Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, and Marner. It really doesn't get much better than that. So you're essentially punting for a guy who has all the opportunity in the world playing with some of the best forwards in the NHL. And then I got a couple of goaltenders there for you, higher priced and lower priced options, starting with Matt Murray of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not only are the Maple Leafs minus 300 to win this game here tonight, but Murray has been very solid in his 7 starts with a 5-1-1 record, a goals allowed average of 2.44, a save percentage of .927, with 4.7 goals save above expected, which is the 12th best in the NHL. And then I got Cam Talbot there, my favorite lower price goaltender on this slate at $7,600. Now, he doesn't have the best record because Ottawa hasn't played all that well in front of him. He's just 3-5-0 this season, but outside of that, he does have some solid numbers. The goals allowed average of 2.51, not the best, but his save percentage at .919, not bad at all, as well as 3.8 goals save above expected. Again, not bad considering the team that's playing in front of him. And as always, going to wrap up this spreadsheet here with 3 low-priced options or sub-4K forward plays. First guy I got there is Tyler Bertuzzi of the Detroit Red Wings, currently playing on that second line in #2 power play. He's been a bit banged up this year, only just played 8 games, where he has 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. But this is a guy who's got 20-plus DraftKings point upside. We've already seen it this year, and that's the type of players that I'm targeting when they're priced this low. Next is Alexander Barabanov there of the San Jose Sharks, sitting at $3,300. Playing on that second line in #1 power play. This is primarily an opportunity play here considering the price, but he is riding a 5-game point streak right now where he has 2 goals and 3 assists. And then Jack Quinn there of the Buffalo Sabres, playing on the second line in #2 power play. He's got 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points in his past 5 games, while being second on the team in scoring chances during that stretch of games, just behind Tage Thompson. And then to wrap up this video here, want to talk a little prize picks with you guys. I got one that sticks out to me here right away. Dominic Kubalik over 2.5 shots on net for the Detroit Red Wings. Good matchup at home against the Buffalo Sabres, but I haven't found anything to pair with this quite yet. Now, we don't have the goalie props out. It is a little earlier as I'm recording here this morning, but that is definitely one that sticks out to me. But like I always do, once I go through all of my picks here, I'm going to give you my final picks in a comment below on this video, and I'll be sure to pin that comment as well. And don't forget, I am posting those in my Discord too. If you want to join that, there's a link in the description below. Now, for those of you who have not signed up for Prize Picks yet but want to get in on this action, I got a promo code that you should definitely take advantage of. Look, you don't even have to play the hockey picks. If you're watching soccer right now, more of an NBA fan, you can get in on Prize Picks and still take advantage of this promo code, which is GRIFF. GRIFF. If you use that upon signing up, Prize Picks is going to give you all the way up to a $100 match deposit. And again, you don't have to put $100 in. You want to put in 50, they'll match 50. You want to put in 20, they'll match 20. They will match anything up to $100. Again, as long as you're using that promo code GRIFF. GRIFF upon signing up. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great day here, folks. Let's win some money on this 4-game slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.